those who helped us move about a year ago kind of got an inkling of that as they just unpacked box after box, tote after tote of Christmas Village stuff. I remember Mitch's eyes, and he was just thinking, man, Sarah must really love Christmas Villages. And then Sarah's like, no, that's all Josh's stuff. He's like, what? And it sat there last year. We didn't put it up, but I thought, man, how can I really convey to Dayton Christian Church just how much I love Christmas? Well, we'll just set up a colossal village that takes up the foyer. That should do the trick. I love Christmas. I look forward to it. I can't wait for it. I love Christmas so much that even they've gotten in the spirit of like doing the Christmas movies during July, Christmas in July. I even celebrate that. I'm just a nut for Christmas. And then I went and married somebody who was like diametrically opposite to me. One of the first conversations we ever had, Sarah and I, and we did not meet during Christmas time. It was after Christmas. It was February. But we talked about Christmas, and she aired out her list of grievances. Santa Claus was on that list. And I'll let her tell you the story of her, grievance with Santa. Maybe on December 19th they can work out the kinks. But she just never really got into Christmas. In fact, the more she talked about Christmas, the more it kind of came across as a nightmare. The traffic, the shopping, the crowds, the big gatherings. And I didn't know this until I spent one of those gatherings with them on her side of the family. These big gatherings where everybody just comes in and you literally start telling what's going on in your life like 13 times to different people. It is exhausting. And the truth is, she just never really did like Christmas. It was one of her least favorite times of year. I got to tell you, that was close to a deal breaker for me at the very beginning. We had to work through some things. But it also got me thinking about how much I take for granted the idea that Christmas is just wonderful. Christmas is not always just wonderful to everyone. And this year, a lot of people are feeling that, or they're starting to feel that. Here in this last week, as we were just coming off Thanksgiving, as we were loosening the belt, as we were settling into our tryptophan comas from the turkey, we started hearing another variant, and there's just the inevitable sigh, and there's just the stress. And the truth is, we enter a Christmas season with a lot of hope, but for so many people in our world, Christmas has become a nightmare. It's become a time to dread as much as a time to anticipate and look forward to. And we may scratch our heads at that as Christians because Christmas, maybe more than any other season, symbolizes our hope so much. But the truth is, there are so many people in our world that just have no idea what that means, what Christmas is really all about. And so here's what I want us to do this Christmas season. Here's what I want us to see as we look back at these time-honored and loved scriptures, these stories that are so much a part of who we are as a faith, as a community of faith. I want us to look back at a world before Christ came into it. I want us to look back at a world that didn't know what the hope of Jesus was all about. Where could we find a world such as that? Where could we go to truly understand how people feel in the darkest, coldest months of the year? I know. The first Christmas. Because truthfully, for so many people in that experience, in those chapters, those first two chapters of Luke, the first two chapters of Matthew, they were not looking forward to Christmas trees. They were not looking forward to cookies. They were not looking forward to holly on the fireplace and the crackle of logs. They weren't looking forward to any of that because none of that existed. And likewise, the Messiah hadn't come yet. All they could do was sit and wait, at least those who were looking. And that's where we start. We start with Matthew chapter 2. We actually start this year at the end of the story with a road trip unlike any other. Matthew chapter 2 verse 1 says that Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem in Judea during the time when Herod was king. And when Jesus was born, some wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. They asked, "Where is the baby who was born to be king of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was troubled, as were all the people in Jerusalem. Herod called a meeting of all the leading priests and teachers of the law and asked them where the Christ would be born. They answered, in the town of Bethlehem in Judea. The prophet wrote about this in the scriptures. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not just an insignificant village in Judah. A ruler will come from you who will be like a shepherd for my people Israel. Then Herod had a secret meeting with the wise men and learned from them the exact time they first saw the star. He sent the wise men to Bethlehem, saying, "Look carefully for the child. When you find him, come tell me so I can worship him too." After the wise men heard the king, they left. The star that they had seen in the east went before them until it stopped above the place where the child was. When the wise men saw the star, they were filled with joy. They came to the house where the child was and saw him with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. They opened their gifts and gave him treasures of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But God warned the wise men in a dream not to go back to Herod, so they returned to their own country by a different way. One of my favorite things about Christmas, of course, is all the Christmas specials. I literally was trying to hold back tears last night because Zoe was sitting on my lap and we were watching the greatest Christmas movie of all time. There is no debate. I know everybody in this room listening online has favorites, and that's okay. You are entitled to your favorite. You are not entitled to picking the best. The best is A Charlie Brown Christmas. It has everything we need. It has Snoopy to laugh at. It has commercialism versus the true meaning, and the true meaning of Christmas wins out at the end. And of course, it has that great speech at the end by Linus, "Lights, please," as he recites from memory the scriptures from Luke. It is fantastic. If you have not watched it, someone didn't love you enough. You need to come over to my house. We will watch it together. Zoe loves it. We can sit with her. We can all cry together. No, it really did mean a lot. That is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Another one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time is, of course, like the opposite of that, is The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is literally a movie about people who have no idea what Christmas is about, coming across it, realizing how special and beautiful it is. It just doesn't come with instruction manuals. They can't figure it out. And they think to themselves, this year, Christmas will be ours. That is what Jack Skellington declares to the heavens. I will supplant Santa and we will celebrate Christmas. The problem is they don't know how to celebrate Christmas. They're pros at Halloween. They're novices at Christmas. Hilarity ensues. And the audacity of his statement, "This year Christmas will be ours," is matched by just a hopelessness of ever not just spreading Christmas, but really understanding what it means. And as much as we wish that the world was more towards Linus and that beautiful speech at the end and that warm feeling, the truth is our world is more perilously close to Jack Skellington and his rabble group of Halloween Town citizens. The world loves to declare and celebrate what the holidays are all about, but often they have no clue. The problem is, the group that knows what they are about, we are tucked away in our churches. We're holed up in our walled gardens. We are too busy celebrating what Christmas is for us that we could ever be bothered to share with them what Christmas is about. And when we do look over the fence, when we do peek open the door, when we do turn on the news, we are offended, we are aghast, we are hopelessly perplexed at the sight of nativities coming down, at no longer the familiar ring of Merry Christmas, but Happy Holidays. And we rise as some kind of military to go and restore and fight the time-honored war against Christmas that never was, but in our minds and hearts rages on. And we do that seemingly every Christmas season. When January 1st rolls around, we put away the decorations. We go on with the year only to fight it once more when December rolls around again, or November, or September, or whenever we see decorations in Costco. Talk about a nightmare. Where could we go in the scriptures to understand how to break this vicious cycle? of a world that has no idea what it's doing, but really would like to know, would really like to be in on the joy? Where could we go to understand ourselves so that maybe, just maybe, we could not be ourselves? It's Matthew chapter 2. In Matthew chapter 2, we are really invited to see three different kinds of characters. One is the wise men, and they are not a part, really, of God's people in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they are the most bizarre group in the nativity scene. They're from the east. They are not God's people. They are cut off from Israel. They are Gentiles. Ew, icky. How terrible. Why would they be a part of Christmas? Well, see, God made a promise to the Jews' great-grandfather years ago that through him, through his descendants, all people would be blessed. The promise of Christmas really is for all people, and that rests in the wise men's visit. They come because Christmas has to be for them. It can't just be for one group of people. If it was, it'd be sad. It'd be sad. Think fruitcake and all that's associated with that. That's how sad Christmas would be if it was just for one group of people. And so we are invited to see and experience and understand and get to know the wise men. We don't really know exactly where they came from. We don't know exactly who they are. There's theories that abound. I don't really want to get into that today. That's not the point. But the point is they're the least likely to understand Christmas. And guess what? They're the ones to experience it in its fullness. They actually stand in the presence of Jesus. In fact, they bow in the presence of Jesus. And our gift giving, that doesn't come from Santa. Nothing against Santa, but that doesn't come from Santa, Rudolph, Frosty, all those characters. That tradition comes from them. They bear gifts to the King of Kings, and ones that are chiefly important, that symbolizes his supremacy in the gold, that symbolizes his majesty in the myrrh, and yes, that foreshadows the great sacrifice he will make in that frankincense. They're the ones that are least likely to understand and get Christmas, and they're the ones that experience it in its fullness, that first Christmas, that first moment when all of these things were happening. We also meet the experts, the scholars, the teachers and writers of the law. They're consulted because when the wise men show up to a politician's house, and like most politicians, he has no idea what's going on, even amongst his own culture, they're the ones that are called upon. They are the church leaders. They are the cloth. They are the ones that we should look to for hope. And you know what? They have the answer. They are the GPS. They know exactly where the wise men are to go. Bethlehem and Judah, we even have the scripture that proves it. And guess what they do? They go back to their own homes. They go back to their own homes. They do not go to Bethlehem with these wise men. Why didn't they go? Why didn't they just send an emissary? Could they not be troubled? Could they not see this great caravan from this faraway country and be bothered enough to say, maybe there's something to this would-be Messiah. Maybe we should check up on that. Nope, can't be bothered. They are essentially the pastor that must sit in his office all week, write the sermon because it's going to be so brilliant, never mind all the people I should be ministering to out on the streets. So that's the other character that we're invited to meet in this story. The third is the one that we are most familiar with, and that is the consummate politician. That is the so-called King Herod. He really is only a king because Roman lets him. He is a powerful figure, but he's also the most insecure figure. And when the wise men show up to worship someone and it's not him, he is greatly troubled. And whenever Herod is greatly troubled, all of Jerusalem is troubled with him. And we know why that is, because after this story, after the wise men failed to return to Herod, after they failed to tell him where the child is, he just goes on a murdering spree, killing children. Yeah, if that was my politician, I would be very greatly troubled when he or she was greatly troubled. And not to get political, but the truth is, the more things change, the more things stay the same. The scholars had the answer from the scriptures, but they failed to follow. Politician, even though being a part of this culture, even though saying that he had the best interest of the people, go and find the child so that I too may worship him, really just wanted to bump off a political threat. And I ask myself every time I go to this story, where is the church in 2021? Where do we find ourselves? Amongst the three characters in Matthew chapter 2, who do we closely identify with? I know the Sunday school answer is we should always raise our hands and say it's the wise men, it's them. And we always want to be wise. But truthfully, as I look at the church, as I take a true assessment, I feel like a lot of years we're like those scholars. Yeah, we know all the scriptures, we know all the songs, we can sing them. Bing Crosby's in our head, Nat King Cole's playing over our series, but the truth is, like them, we've made Christmas about us. And if somebody else is celebrating Christmas or wants to understand Christmas or the holidays and it's not exactly to our standards, well, can't be bothered with that. How dare they? Don't they know how dumb that is? Or can't they understand what our culture is? Or whatever language you want to use. I think sadly we're too much like that group, much more than we'd like to admit. And yes, I think there are a few of us that we'd never say it out loud, but in our hearts, we're kind of like Herod. We want our own way. Come hell or high water, Christmas is going to be ours. We're doing it our way, and if you don't get on the program, if you don't say what we say, if you don't adopt what we adopt, then, well, bad things are going to happen. Now, you may be sitting there and you may be saying, that sounds awfully dramatic, but is it really? Who are you, who are we in this story? Well, if we want to be the wise men, if we want to be the magi, if we want to be the ones who stand in the presence of Jesus, like they did that Christmas, if we want to worship in the presence of Jesus this Christmas, then we have to actually stop thinking like those Halloween town citizens declared. We have to stop looking at Christmas as ours. I have to stop looking at Christmas as me, me, me. It's all about me. It's what I want. It's going to be my way or no way. And we have to see Christmas as something to share. We have to see Christmas as something that really is for everyone. And that takes effort. That takes work on our part. And we can't believe in our hearts that Christmas is for everyone if we're not willing to bring it to everyone. And so I think to myself, thank God for things like writing letters to Turner. Thank God for writing letters to Kenya. Thank God for things like the Big Give and Winter Wish, that we can do something that is truly selfless. And when people ask why we do it, it's because it brings us closer to Jesus. It gives us an opportunity to share what Jesus is doing this Christmas season. And when someone does say to me in a store, happy holidays, instead of sneering at them with all of the bile of a Grinch, Merry Christmas, maybe I just look at them with earnest love and warmth and say, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is. Hope you know Jesus. That's what this time of year is all about. Christmas has to be more than just about us. It's got to be about something greater, grander, bigger, bolder, warmer. Thank God that it is. It is about Jesus. That's what the wise men understood. That's why they took the trip in the first place. And every Christmas for his church, we are invited to take a journey of our own. For some of you, this is your first Christmas celebrating since you were baptized. What an amazing experience it'll be. You may have put up a tree before. You may have sang Jolly Old St. Nicholas, ho, 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 and all of that. And you can still do that. It's all fun. It's wonderful. But this year, you gander over at those trees, you look at that manger, and you see it as something far more special and important than it's ever been before. That nativity scene isn't just a decoration. It is the gospel that has saved you. And maybe this is your 50th Christmas. You're getting a little tired. It's starting to hurt a little bit in the bones and the muscles to put up the tree, but you do it anyway because it brings a little bit of light to your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren, because it brings a little warmth to you. But you've accepted that lie that, sharing the message of Christmas is for others. That's a young person's game. That's not for me. No, we need you. We need to enlist you. You most of all. You're an expert at this. You can help. You can disciple. You can mentor. You can write letters. You can inspire others. If only we had a community to belong to. If only we were like those wise men where we weren't making the journey alone. We were doing it together in a great caravan. Oh, we do. We have his church. And so as we set out this first Sunday of Advent, as we set out to celebrate this Christmas season, let's stop making it about any one of us individually. In fact, let's stop declaring how there could ever be one Christmas movie that is the greatest of all time, even though there is. Let's love our traditions. Let's hold them close. Let's pass them on to the next generation. But most importantly, let's share the joy of Jesus. And let's do it warmly. And let's do it with earnestness, the same earnestness that somebody else shared with us. Let's give the greatest gift that is truly at our disposal to give. And let's do it at a time when people, and this is no hyperbole, we say this every year, and truly, we have said this every year. There's never been a year where people need more hope, but folks, you read and watch the same news I do. There are people in our very community who are very afraid. They're looking at a situation in their lives that just seems never-ending, hopeless. There's nothing of good cheer coming. They are in many ways like the world was when Jesus came into it. You can give them joy. You can give them hope. As we loosen our grip on what Christmas needs to be for us, and we share the hope and glory of Jesus with others, we take that step in becoming wise men and women. Heavenly Father, let us look openly with clear eyes at the world around us and see that in this season where there is so much to celebrate, there is much that people are afraid of. There are many questions people are asking. And there is a world around us that can become so disillusioned. There can be a world around us that is so frantic, trying to celebrate a holiday that they don't quite understand themselves. Ready this church at Dayton Christian Church. Ready are Christians all over the world to share the joy and hope of Christmas, to do it warmly, gladly, with good cheer and glad tidings, to really see the wisdom and beauty in that time-honored phrase, God bless us everyone. To realize that these are not human emotions that spring forth from a human origin. They come from you, our God. And they come because of the gift of Emmanuel, God with us. Let us go on that journey together as the church, just as the wise men did. Let us give great gifts of salvation that you yourself purchased on the cross to those around us. And let us truly see in this season a way to change people's nightmares into dreams as we hope again. In Jesus' name, amen.